Okay, Hannah, come on. Let's go, Hannah.
Come on, Hannah, let's go. Yeah, come on, honey. Hurry. Let her go. Go ahead. Go on. She just says, oh, well, I'm going to be here.
Okay, you're all set.
Yeah, will you shut both doors? Because I make it wash. Hello. Anyone else there? Kevin?
I'm here, Joy. How are you doing tonight?
Fine. How are you doing, Kevin?
Not too bad.
Well, it's been real busy. You know, we drive through town and just check out things 2 or 3 times a week, and it's lots of people over Father's Day.
Yeah, our numbers are a little unbelievable.
Yeah, and Juneteenth, you know, brought in a lot of people who had 3-day weekends too.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
was,
I ran the numbers just for the Juneteenth weekend.
Uh-huh.
Just shy of 6,700 transactions,
Wow.
$34,000.
That it's just we just think it can't keep going, and it keeps getting higher.
Yep.
You know, with gas prices the way they are, and flying situations, I think people are trying to stay locally, and Manitou has a lot to offer.
It sure does. Yeah.
Of course,
Yeah, my
I'm
book.
prejudiced towards Manitou, but I think it does. Even if I was a visitor, I would say, oh, this is a fun place.
Yeah, my bookkeeper was telling me this morning, not looking at permit revenue and online citation revenue, she's confident we're going to break 300,000 for the first time ever this month.
Wow. That's
yeah.
It's just I think it's pretty exciting that people want to be here, and we're still maintaining Manitou.
Yeah, we're doing good things.
Yeah, I like that. Well, I know you're busy, Kevin. You have to be so busy.
Oh yeah, I start every day about 7:30 and usually crawl into bed somewhere around 9.
Just in time to get some sleep to do it all again.
Yep.
That's amazing.
Yep.
Really appreciate all that you've done and all that you do there.
Well, it's so much fun to do this every day. So
we've come a long way from SP Plus, haven't we?
Sure have. And Roy's a big hand in making that happen for us.
Yeah, I think so. Hey, Bill, how are you?
Hey, great. Good to see you.
It's good to see you.
How you been?
Oh, you know, okay.
Good, good.
Yeah.
Hey, the sun is shining. We still got ground under our feet, and the grass hasn't got caught up with us yet, so it's great to be alive.
Yeah. Did you go traveling last week?
Last month. Yeah.
Last month?
Yeah. It was Linda's grandmother's 95th birthday party
Oh, wow.
in Wisconsin. So that was
Now,
a big bash.
Where in Wisconsin?
Madison.
Madison. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, she's in a assisted living facility there, and she's still talking a blue streak, so that's good.
Yeah. Hello. Hey, Gay, I'm making a Zoom meeting. Okay. I'll call you back. Okay. I'll call you back. Everything okay? Okay, I'll talk to you. Bye. Bye.
Hi, everyone. Hey, just I can't get my camera to kick on, so this is my face today. Historical Manitou Springs is what you'll see.
It's not, you know, it's okay.
It's an improvement, yes.
It looks good to me.
It's a nice symbol.
Yes.
That's right.
I'm here though. Just can't see me today. I don't know what happened. I probably have to restart my computer, which probably wouldn't be good right now. So. All right, well, I hope other people are coming.
I think
Yeah,
Rob
well-
isn't. I saw that email from you, Bill, that he wasn't.
Yeah, Rolf just sent out an email. He can't get the link to work, so I resent it to him.
Oh,
Yeah, there
great.
was a different link or something, Kevin. You sent something different this time.
Yeah, so we have one the clerk set up for us, that we're gonna start using that one. So everything going forward will be on that new link. And then, I'll resend right before the meeting again with the packet and the agenda for everybody.
It was real efficient.
Yeah,
Great.
another great Roy idea.
I got an email from Bob saying that he wouldn't be able to attend today.
Yeah. Hey, Kevin, did you change the website too? Because there's a link there, and if it's the old link and they're going off the website, they can't get on here.
Yeah, Judy updated that. That's the way I
Okay.
got in. So
Oh, great. Okay. And you're a host, right, Kevin? Okay.
I've got it set. We're recording already and everything. So
Perfect.
Now, if I start to blank out today because of the internet connection, I'm just going to go off video and talk.
Well, Bill, you look the best, and I hear you the best than ever so far.
Good.
New internet or something?
Yeah, I'm on the internet,
Okay.
but I've had all sorts of problems with one of the providers.
Yeah. We,
uh,
it was a
Xfinity.
Hiawatha meeting. I couldn't even understand you at the Hiawatha meeting. It was,
Yeah, it was totally lost. Yeah, so I'm trying something new today.
it was
Well,
very
before-
entertaining though, Bill. It was very entertaining.
Well, it wasn't intended that way. You know, sometimes something just always goes awry. But I can always remember, you know, when there was no internet at all, and it was even worse. So,
Sure.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
hey, Corey, Carl, and Luke, and Rolf. Oh my gosh, we got almost a full house. And Joy.
Yes.
Okay, well, shall we get started? I'd like to call this meeting to order. And it is 6:04 p.m. And let's introduce ourselves for the record. Do you want to start, Kevin?
Kevin Stevenson, Mobility Parking Manager, City of Manitou Springs.
Bill
And,
Kerner,
oh, okay.
member.
Joy Porter, member.
Corey,
Corey Satella, member and vice chair.
Carl,
Carl Stang, board member.
Luke,
Luke Prince, board member.
Rolf.
Hi, I'm Rolf Jacobson, and I will be leaving early from the meeting, unfortunately. So, but I'm glad
Okay.
to be here.
I also have a hard end at 8 o'clock tonight.
Okay. And I heard there's an Avalanche game tonight, so.
That'll be on in the background. So if anybody hears me,
Yes.
All right,
Up the
that's the
score.
man.
It's an important one. It's an important game.
That's right.
It is. And Bob sent a message saying that he would not be able to attend. He's got a work conflict today.
yeah,
So,
being the executive director for the hill climb there, this is a busy week for Bob.
yeah. Okay, first item is approval of the agenda. Does anybody have any changes they'd like to make to the agenda or comments on the agenda?
On the May 25th one, it's a minor, it looks like a spell check thing on May 25th on page 5 of 63. It has real instead of rear parking.
Well, we're back on the agenda to approve the agenda. We'll get to the minutes just in a minute.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was ahead of that.
Yeah. I'd like a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
Okay, is there a second?
I second to approve
Luke.
the agenda.
Corey and Luke, and all in favor, just say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
I'm
Bill, I'm saying aye. We didn't have a chance for discussion on it. I just wanted to note that we do have both public comment shown on the agenda as well as board correspondence. And so I wanted to check in on that. The direction we had been moving was to have board comments coming as at the end of the meeting under board correspondence, but you'd mentioned to me that you might prefer to do it in public comment. So I just wanted to check in on that.
Well, and I think also it was pretty clear that public comments is public comments. It's not our public comments. I mean, the city administrator and the lawyer made it pretty clear, Corey.
Yeah, that's correct. So the board does not get to do public comment, but there is board correspondence at the end. And you can talk then about things you're seeing, et cetera.
And even that, Roy, wasn't it? It wasn't a long discussion. It was whether we wanted to put it on the next agenda, basically.
Yeah, you can bring things to put on the agenda. Also, you can just let staff know if you notice some things that we can look into. That's all that one is for at the end.
So does that work for you, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Okay. All right, let's go ahead and, yeah, let's go ahead.
Okay, the agenda is approved. Now we have approval of the minutes, and we have first, April 13th, 2022, amended minutes.
I'll move to approve the amended April minutes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay, those minutes are approved. The next one is the approval of the May 25th, 2022 minutes. I will abstain, or I was excused for that meeting due to being out of town. I'd entertain a motion to approve.
I
You
thought
want to
Joy
change
had a
it now?
comment.
Yeah. Okay,
change.
Joy, you have a comment. Thank you.
Yeah, there's a change. It's just a typo, and it's on page 5 of 63. It's the second from last sentence at the bottom. It says real diagonal parking and should say rear diagonal parking.
I see that, Joy. Thank you.
Yeah, it's just pretty
I've
minor. I'm sure it's a spell check thing.
Any other comments on the agenda?
Mr. Chair, I'll just ask, so is that a little different? It's a minor typo. It's not the same as the situation we had last month where we had to amend them and then bring them back for a full another reading. That was the course that we took last month because there was an error in the minutes.
Well, I think in interest of process and expediency, we should regard this as a typo. And I would take it as that rather than a wholesale revision of the minutes. Carl.
If I'm reading this correctly, so page 5, that's from the April minutes, not the May minutes, by the way, as well, which we just approved.
Oh, it's April?
Am I
So
reading
we-
it right? If I go
Yep.
back up page.
I think you're correct.
You
I
are,
was
Carl.
thinking I was in the May 25th one.
Yeah, page 3 says April 13th, 2022.
All right.
Are
So
you
we
right,
can-
Carl?
I think we can just correct the typo, Kevin.
I can do that.
What do you think, Bill?
Yeah, let's just correct the typo on the April.
Good catch, Carl.
Yeah, very good catch. I missed that one.
Joy caught
Okay,
the spelling error, so
I still need a motion to approve the May 25th. Did somebody move to approve that? If
I'll
not,
move to approve it. I
okay,
need-
we have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second Bill.
Carl seconded. All in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand.
Bill,
Okay.
I'm looking at a typo on page 10 of our packet. That's item 6 under reports on that. It's got under reports, it says Denise 4 Howell. So there's a 4 on Denise's name. So that's just a typo that could be fixed up.
Yeah. Did you get that, Kevin?
Can you reference a more specific line, Corey?
Yeah. Section 6 reports,
Oh, I got it. I see it under number 5.
5 public service report. Yep.
Thank you, Corey. Okay, public comment on non-agenda items. Do we have any public joining us today? I don't see
I've
it.
got nobody in the audience.
Okay, let's move on. Moving to presentations and new business, subcommittee tasks. Number 3, RPP guidelines and mobility, micromobility. Kevin, you want to talk about this, please?
So in the packets, there were some memos included. And let me pull my packet up so I can go through these in the correct order. Looks like the first memo was the mobility and micromobility. So staff is requesting some help of the board. We're looking for 2 members to look over the micromobility for a mobility boulevard for El Paso. We're going to go over this all summer, and we'll continue this in the meetings with updates and reports and everything. When summer passes, Roy and I were going to look at seeing what we could get implemented this year, possibly next year, with all the parking changes and new rates and extra parking that we have and everything. Staff's a little busy to be able to kind of dive into this, so we're recruiting the board for some help.
Okay, who wants to volunteer? I see Carl raise his hand. That's one. We need one more.
So what, I guess I'm just unclear. What would they be doing? It sounds like something I would be interested in, more than happy to, be a part of. Is it just looking further into? Carl has his hand up. Maybe you can speak to that. Oh,
So Kevin, do you want me to speak?
Yeah, Roy, why don't you jump in here and talk about this, please? Thank you.
And I apologize, my camera went out when I got on this meeting, and I don't want to restart my computer and try to log back on. So anyway, so the idea is that, because there's been some interest, and as we took on mobility, is that how do we improve mobility, into downtown Manitou Springs? As most of you know, the TMMP states that El Paso could be a mobility boulevard. And what that means is, no one really knows. That's for us to kind of decide what that means. It could mean, is it widened and extra space to make larger bike lanes? Is it, no cars and just a walkable street? I don't know. But what we need 2 people to do, of you folks, is kind of research different ideas around the country of mobility areas and bring it back to this group so we can kind of look at maybe what might fit for a Manitou, and then for us staff to dive into what is even possible and start to see how we maybe present ideas to council, etc. So we really just need someone to investigate different ideas, and I'm open to anything. TMMP talks about different ways to do it. There is no one way necessarily, but the way Manitou would like it. And right now, Manitou Avenue is a tough one, but El Paso so far, even with our current minor adjustments, has been more productive in bikes and people getting some good comments. So maybe that is the route. But a lot of things to consider, right? Emergency access for vehicles, things like that, since we only have a couple entrances and exits out of town. So kind of getting data, information, presenting it to the board. We discuss it and decide maybe on a few items that we can dig into. What's the possibility, the costs, and then of course it has to always go through the process. So if that helps explain kind of what we're looking for.
Yeah, Carl.
One quick thing, though I saw Corey had his hand up before me, but I was just going to say, to add on to Roy's comment, Hiawatha Gardens is going to have a potential impact on El Paso Boulevard as well. So another thing to consider, I think, when we're looking at that potential modification of use of El Paso Boulevard, if you will use those words.
That's a good point.
And just as an aside, as
I
whoever.
got my hand up, Mr. Chair. Can I speak?
Oh, sorry, Corey, I didn't see your hand.
Yeah, well, the chair should recognize who should speak next, right? So, Mr. Chair, can you do that?
Yes, I recognize you, Corey.
Thank you. So just as a reminder to the group and for you, Mr. Chair, because you weren't here, we did discuss this last meeting and moved ahead with the agreement that we wanted to form 2 subcommittees. And I recall there were 2 people, and I'm afraid it's not in the notes and I don't recall who it was. It seemed to me that maybe Luke had expressed interest, but I remember Carl was interested. The comment that I want to make about this proposal is I don't want to see a mobility and a micro mobility subcommittee. Our committee is focused on mobility. It's in our title, it's in our mission. So what I would propose is that this subcommittee be formed for the express purpose of examining El Paso Boulevard and its role as a micro mobility connection or corridor. And so that'd be the proposal I'd like to make in terms of the naming of this committee.
Well, the question really is, staff is asked us to jump into helping address the issues. So I'd like to hear from Roy and Kevin, if Roy.
Right, so Bill, I'm just clarifying that we already said yes to that last meeting. We agreed to it. And so my
Okay.
request is to change what the title is.
And Bill, just so I can do it, I recall that we were starting to volunteer for the different committees, and then Denise came on and said to Kevin that we really need to look at what the purpose is and what the parameters are for people will know what they're volunteering for. So I don't think it was a final volunteer for these 2.
Okay. Well, having said that, was everybody who is considering volunteering aware of that and ready and willing to jump in? And Carl has indicated that he is. And Luke, are you interested? Is
Yeah,
that a yes?
yeah, I think that's something. Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so we have one of the 2 subcommittees addressed. Let's move on to.
Mr. Chair,
the
can we
question.
clarify the name of the subcommittee?
Do you have a suggestion, Corey?
Yeah, my suggestion is that the subcommittee is for the examination of El Paso Boulevard as a potential micromobility corridor.
And the question for staff is, does this address your needs?
Yes, I think the title's fine. It's is it appropriate for a mobility corridor, and then what is that? Everyone has their, we can probably talk to each one of you and each have their own ideas. So we do have to just have some ideas as staff, what you're even suggesting would be a great mobility boulevard, for example. So yeah, so that's where we don't even know what we want there, or anybody. I don't know if everyone has their own opinion, but we need to kind of group together and get some information on what that even means. Is it a walkable street? Is it is it a one-way? And so we have a lot of bike area. Is it widened? There's a lot of things to look at. What are even the possibilities of the area? Like Corey stated, trying to the ability to even make it into something that could work. And then what are these things? Because right now I really don't know what the map board would like to see for mobility from that area. But it has been addressed in the TMMP as a possible mobility street. So I think it's something we should look into and bring back to the whole group. Ideas would be helpful to us. Where we're even going to start from.
I'd like to make a suggestion if I could. Having been fairly recently in Europe, like 2 years ago, look at Chamonix in France and some of the other cities in France, and I would assume Switzerland as well, that incorporate what we're talking about. It's not only for autos, but it's also for mobility and bikes and scooters and so forth and so on. So just a thought that you might consider looking at in your deliberations, Corey and Luke.
That'll be Carl and Luke. I think that's a
Carl
great
and
idea.
Luke.
And
Sorry,
probably,
Carl.
once it gets off the ground, they probably are going to interview staff and collect information. So
Yeah.
But really, my question for staff is it all right that we call it an El Paso Boulevard subcommittee?
Yeah, I'm okay with that title. I'm totally okay with that.
Thank you.
You're
Okay.
welcome.
do we need to vote to form that subcommittee? I actually would like to make a motion that we form the El Paso Boulevard Subcommittee from this committee. That's my motion.
That's appropriate. Is there a second to the motion?
I second.
Okay. Ralph seconds. All in favor, please indicate hands or voice.
Aye.
That passes unanimously. Okay, let's move on to RPP. Kevin?
So our next one is another item that Roy and I have been looking into, and with everything else that's been going on, it's kind of been pushed back, are the RPP guidelines and procedures. So I have been approached by some residents that have some suggested changes, and this was adopted as a city ordinance, so it would have to go through that whole process. But the few things that the residents brought to my attention does make some sense. And Roy and I have also, in our spare time, tried to dive into this and find a couple things that really are hard to understand or kind of contradict themselves. Couple areas that I noted, any area in the guidelines and procedures that reference the Parking Authority Board or PAB, those need to be revised to read Mobility and Parking Board or MAP. I did notice in there that we've got semi-annual deadlines. Personally, I think the need for an RPP can come up at any time, and staff should be able to review those when those issues come up. And then number 3 or bullet 3 on the memo are resident suggestions and concerns that I've heard that they would like to try to limit the petitions for these new RPPs and all that to owners only, because most of the renters aren't here long term. The homeowner or property owner, it's the one that's going to affect for their renters, and this way we can kind of ensure that the property owners or managers or however they want to be labeled are in the know of the rules, so the tenants are aware. And then number 4, again, this was a resident suggestion, was do we need to set some kind of limit on the guest permits? We've had some abuse in areas where guest permits are being used as a regular residential permit. And unfortunately, there's nothing in the code right now that's allowing my staff to really take some action to stop that. So a resident suggestion is it shall not be used in excess of 72 consecutive hours without prior approval of the RPP manager. And that's just the current language listed. So that would be the Mobility and Parking Department, where if we have a resident that has some extended family that's going to be here for 10, 14 days, if they kind of let us know in advance and we start getting calls, we know what's going on ahead of time. So those are some things that staff and residents have brought forward. I'm asking for the board's help to kind of dive deeper into those guidelines and see what doesn't make sense to those members, how we can better word it, how we can maybe streamline and make this process better for everybody involved.
Thank you, Kevin.
And Roy, I'm not sure if you want to piggyback on
Yeah,
that.
Roy, do you have some comments?
Yeah, I just, a lot of information from Kevin. In a nutshell, the RPP manual is in some ways vague. We sometimes don't know what to do in a situation, makes it hard for us. So we probably just need, if you feel the same way as we get a couple people to look at it on this board and say, we don't understand this, or how do we proceed if we have this problem? Between us and 2 folks on this board who can go through it, we can bring it back to this board as a whole too and say, these are some of the confusion areas. How can we clean them up and simplify this RPP manual? I know that council mentioned at a council meeting a couple months ago when we had that latest RPP near Hiawatha approved by them. The statement was made, well, why are we approving these? Shouldn't staff and the MAP board make decisions? Because they're probably not going to go against us if there's 51% that want RPP. Who's who's council to say no? And they never say no because they're gonna follow the recommendation of map board and the staff. So that would be something else I would like changed in there, that we make that decision when it's brought to a new RPP. And we give that onto the map board and staff to decide if it's a good choice based on following all the rules. And then we just implement it, and we just let, council doesn't seem to have interest in doing that. And really, they don't do much with it. So that's things like that we want to look at and just clean up that manual. It's tough to figure out at times. And we don't want to make up rules, and we don't want to cause trouble that way. So that's why we want to get into this RBP. I don't think it's going to be a hard one, but probably, I don't know how many people have really read it. Get another task force to kind of read through it, bring it back with us in a month or two, and let's discuss it and try to clean it up, and then present it to council for approval on some cleaned up language and improvements.
If I could, I think it would be good if the subcommittees, both subcommittees bring things back to the map board for a formal vote of the whole board. And before it goes to council, just from a process standpoint.
Oh, that totally, sorry if that wasn't clear. The idea is the task force comes back to the board, and we actually have we meet on this and we talk about it, and the board agrees on everything before we move forward. Yeah, totally the map board with us will decide on what we want in there before we proceed with council. You bet.
Good. Okay. Volunteers. 2. Corey.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, we talked about this also, and there was some interest. I won't speak for anyone since we've now got more information about what the RPP task force would be asked to do, but I'm interested in this work, and I'm willing to make a motion to form the committee, and I'll put my name down to volunteer on it.
Roy, I have a question about the time commitment of when you see this being needed to be done. Because I know the last time I had said I was interested, I do have some time situation constraints, and just curious to know what timeline you're looking at for us to start bringing this back.
Yeah, that's a great question. And right now in my mind, I'm thinking, the Mobility Boulevard and this one, I think we're probably looking maybe one in September and one in October to bring back. So I don't want to rush through it. I want to give you all time to really research it and come back so we can discuss it and focus on it at one night on one big topic and try to complete it. So that's my suggestion, if everyone's in agreement. And we can do, I don't care which one's first or second, but we can do one month and one. So September, October.
Carl, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I think someone did.
Carl?
Carl.
Roy answered my question. Thanks, Bill. Sorry.
Okay, you're welcome.
I would be interested, but I have some situational things going on. And so I couldn't really do it until October.
Oh, actually read it, Joy, in October?
Yeah, no, I've already read it. I mean, I've read it because I was involved in the RPP a few times, and we had different groups. We were just starting to form a lot of them. So I've read it, and it does need revision.
So what if we did that one in October to be presented? Is that something that works for you, Joy, or?
Yes, that would work for me,
given
things are working out. Yes.
Okay, we can shift it a month too.
Okay.
I think we're totally open, Bill, to shift in a month or two if we have to make this work. We don't want to rush into any of this.
Just a sec, Roy. I think we're talking about forming a subcommittee, and the idea is to come back and present in September or October, right? Or are you saying you want to form a subcommittee, but you don't want them to start work until September or October? I'm ready to get going on this right now.
Yeah, no, the idea would be present in October, yeah, or November.
Okay.
Even,
well, then I think we should try to staff the task force or the subcommittees with people that can commit time to them.
I think, Corey, I'm going to take issue with what you're saying. I think you're being disrespectful. There are things
what way,
that people
Joy?
have, excuse me. There are things that people have, and I think I've said I'm willing to work on it and then present in October. But for you to say I'm not committed is wrong.
I thought I heard you say you couldn't.
Okay,
you couldn't work
okay,
on it
folks.
until October.
Apologize.
Let's,
Are you saying you are able to work on
You
it
can
and
go
present
ahead
in
and
October?
apologize. I don't answer to you, Corey.
Okay, right now I've got, well, Carl, go ahead. Your hand's up, please.
I was just gonna suggest, and this might help Joy as well, but I mean, I've read the RPP guidelines. It's been a while, but I mean, if Corey is the head of the subcommittee, I would, like offer that everybody should probably read it and send suggestions to Corey and let Corey and Joy, right, as she has time, pull that together and be the final kind of say on the subcommittee. But I mean, even like with the El Paso Boulevard, if folks have ideas, I mean, I don't want to speak for Luke, but for me, hey, send me all your ideas, and definitely we can incorporate that into consideration as a subcommittee. I mean,
I think.
Everybody okay with that approach?
Bill, I'm going to go ahead and withdraw my name. I don't care to work with Corey on this. I'm withdrawing my name from it.
Okay,
Someone else can join him.
Hey, Bill.
yes,
Oh, yeah, just, I want to clarify that I understood Joy saying she could present in October and she could work on it because it was enough time to present in October. So that's how I understood that. She was totally committed to doing that. So I just want that for the record, that I thought she was committing to doing that. And that was right, Joy?
Yes, it was.
Okay, so that was totally what was acceptable. What I said too, though, that let's say if any of these committees couldn't get it done in time, we could postpone it a month. This stuff is sat here for years, and I think we can be a little flexible, to move it if we need to based on everyone's busy schedule, because I know this is a volunteer group. At the same time, I mean, I agree with Carl 100%. Everyone can dive in as they want to and definitely send emails or whatever and be ready for the meetings to discuss some ideas as well. I think it's great that everyone gets involved. So that's all I have.
okay, having said that, Joy, do you want to respond, or
I certainly would listen to Roy, and I'm glad that he picked up what I said and the meaning of it. Appreciate it, Roy. Thank you. I'm certainly willing. I don't believe that either of us should be head. I'm certainly going to contribute and come up with things through email. Absolutely. It's something in
Okay.
interest of mine, and I'm pretty good with English and correcting and finding things. So I would like to.
You've definitely proven that with your review of the minutes over the years. So thank you for volunteering. Okay, do you want to make a motion, Joy?
I make a motion that we have another task force dealing with the RPP, and that Corey Satella and myself will be members of the task force.
Okay. Motion, who's seconding?
Second.
Carl, are you seconding? Or do you have a
I
question?
second.
I'll second, yeah.
Carl seconded. All in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand.
All right.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you.
I do have after Carl's question, I also have a question.
Okay, Carl.
I just wanted to go on the record and say, I think it's important that Joy is part of the RPP subcommittee. I think she has the history and background that would be really critical for the success of that subcommittee. So I'm glad, Joy, that you volunteered for that. So
Thank you, Carl.
Totally agree. Yes, Luke.
Timeframe for presenting the El Paso Boulevard subcommittee to this board.
Well, it could be September, or we could November, maybe. I don't know. Hey, Bill, do you remember if we had a meeting in November? Because I know holidays stick in.
Well, we can always have a meeting in November just by moving the date.
Okay, so the committee, do you want to do it in earlier in September in our meeting, or do you want to maybe do a November? I think it's more like a November, December meeting that we tend to do, but do you want to do it in November?
I'm looking at a calendar right now. It looks like the November meeting will be the day before Thanksgiving.
We need to move that meeting then back a week,
Then
or forward a week, rather.
Yeah.
the December meeting will be the 28th, so right between Christmas and New Year's. So
We don't want to do that either.
Yeah, we tend to cancel the December one, or we do one between the two because,
Let's do the November one, make that decision at that point.
okay,
Hey, Mr.
That
Chair, can I
makes
make a
sense.
suggestion?
Yes, Corey.
Since we're forming these task forces, would it be appropriate that we could include the task force as an agenda item on all upcoming MAP meetings, not with the idea that there's a finalized, like we're ready to go full time, but just like a short update to the board. And if the task force or subcommittee thinks they're ready to make a formal presentation, they could let us know. Either committee could, but we don't need to necessarily say, we don't know how long these will take. We don't actually know the full scope of this work. We don't know what the schedules would be like. So what if we just added the task force to the ongoing agenda from now on? And then at each meeting, we'll be able to make the decision of when we're ready to make a more formal recommendation out of that task force.
How's everybody feel about that? I think that's a good idea.
I think it's a great idea. It kind of keeps everybody honest too, working forward every month.
Right,
hey, Bill, we can just throw
exactly.
that
Anybody
under-
have a problem with this?
Hey, Bill, we can just throw it under old business or something and have it there permanently until we're done with these?
Yeah, yeah, good point.
Kevin, can you
Thank you, Roy.
note that? Yep.
Thank you,
Councilmaster.
Corey. Okay. Anything else under task force that we want to talk about, subcommittee tasks? Okay,
I
hearing
would
none.
just like to
Yes,
express my
Luke.
gratitude to the board for helping staff take this on. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree with that.
that's-
Thank you.
I'll tell you, that RPP, that's thankless work, I'll tell you. Having
Well,
read the
hey,
whole thing.
Let's say as a board, thank you to staff for being clear about, how we can help you. And that's what we're here for. So
Yeah,
glad for this chance to collaborate with you.
Sure. You're welcome.
great. Okay, let's move on to reports. First one is Kevin.
So I'm not sure if everybody's had a chance to read through the packet. I'm trying to get to my section right now. But while I'm getting there, I can definitely give some good news with the reservations that we launched. I do know that information right off the top of my head. That officially launched on May 23rd. We're offering 3 hours for $16, 5 hours for $25, or an all-day purchase at $50. So with 8 days in May that this was launched, we had 37 people use that system, and that generated $707 in revenue. So far, I checked it earlier today, so we didn't have a full day through today, but we were just under $2,300 and 67 reservations for the month of June. We definitely are seeing this be successful. We've got staff members down in the Hiawatha lot that are helping everybody, making sure those spots are open. We're doing kind of a reservation on demand until the word really gets spread. Our public information officer, Alex Treffry's been pushing the word out. It's on the website. Chamber's got all the information. So that's really good news. And then just some other quick highlights. They're not on here. This stuff just came up. But we did get our parking logic sign installed down at the swimming pool today. That will go live hopefully the end of this week, but I was told no later than next week, getting with tech support to get that sign activated. There were 1,045 citations issued last month, 64 RPP permits. That makes a lot of sense. We're 5 months through the year. Everybody should have their new ones. These are new tenants, replacement windshields. Lot permits, same thing. We're down on that, but we're halfway through the year. 181 foot patrol hours were done. There were 106 citation appeals completed, and mobile pay continues to outrank Park Mobile in every aspect as far as user friendliness and just ease of use for everybody to use. We've got 3,667 transactions that were done in May on the mobile pay versus Park Mobile from last year, which we were lucky to break 1,300 a month.
Any problems, Kevin? Sorry, Luke. We'll get to you.
Yes. So I just want to make the board aware that I did make contact with a RPP resident that we feel and our department was breaking the rules. They were, and I would really like the board's input on this, so I'm getting a better understanding or hearing a different perspective. They were using their permits to park on street and were taking parking donations for non-residents to use their driveway. I did feel, based off the wording of the guidelines as they are now, that that was a violation, and I did send a warning letter. And I did put in the letter that we are noting that this is an official written warning, and further activity will include further action up to including termination of participation in the program.
Okay.
Wow. Kevin, was it, so, and that's where it's vague in the RPP, no place do we talk about people renting out their driveways. And no place has it said something about driveways, so that you end up in a situation where you can't point to the policy.
Well, the only thing that really points in the policy right now is that if you have off-street, the intent is for you to use that off.
Yeah, that's what the intent was. Yeah, that's interesting.
Luke,
Yeah, I'm an advocate for people using their private property for however they want to. And if they were issued permits by our department, then they should be able to use that for their vehicles. I understand the situation in that, right, in parking on the street. However, if we didn't issue their permits based on the allotment of off-site parking that they had, it's like, well, that was kind of our bad in the beginning, right? I mean, we shouldn't have ever issued them on street parking permits if they have off-street parking. Now, since they already have that, then that shouldn't be an issue, because they can use their private property for however they want. I don't want us to get into the weeds of saying how they can and cannot use their own driveway, but we do have control of how we issue permits to them. And just in general in the RPP program, for if you have off-street parking, then you need to use that, and you don't get awarded street parking permits. That's kind of my thought on that. But since they already have them, I don't think that they were breaking any rules, because they were using the tools accessible to them.
well, I think the subcommittee has the option of entertaining change, or I think we look to the subcommittee to come up with a solution on that, one way or the other. And I understand both points of view, but let's just see how this shakes out. Is that acceptable, Kevin?
Yeah, and I definitely, like I said, I appreciate other points of view on this. Roy and I had discussed it a little bit, and Roy he's very good at pointing out this point of view, that point of view. Roy's a huge tool for me. I appreciate Roy a lot, because he does make me think in several different ways. So I do appreciate that.
Yeah.
And Luke brought up some really good points.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Roy, you have a question?
Just real quick to tag on to Kevin, and I think, Luke, what Luke said kind of makes sense to me. The thing is, with every RPP, what's going to be really important is when Kevin has to look at the spaces available on a neighborhood, and then deciding on extra parking on street for people, because he can do that based on the code. And that's important. And if there's room, so this is like to Luke's point, if there's room for enough cars, and we give them space, and then they want to use their personal driveway to help with our parking problem, really. I mean, I don't care. It gets a car off the street. I don't have a problem with that. The only time I would have a problem is if they tell us they need 2 spaces, for example, and then they take advantage that we gave them 2, and they actually then open up a 3rd on their property, then they're taking advantage of a system. So it depends if there's room on the street, and that we have to make good decisions on that. But that's exactly why we need this RPP task force, because it's been escalated to me from these folks, and I'm supporting Kevin and his group. They're out there doing a great job, and they're enforcing things. And I looked at the code too, and I'm like, boy, it can go either way. This one's a tough one. But currently, I think we need to change it more specific to cover those things, to allow us to be able to support their ability to do that. Otherwise, we're going to open a can of worms, and everybody may try to take on street. We just don't have enough in the code to support one way or the other. So we're sticking with, I think the code's purpose was to prevent people from getting on street parking, which is public parking, really. It's a public parking space, not private, and taking advantage of that where people really need it, if that makes sense. So I think that subcommittees gonna be important to tackle that one for sure. So
Roy, do you need something now? I mean, do you need a moratorium for that homeowner to say, you know, the board is going to be looking at it or something so that you're not on a hotspot or something?
that's a good point. I would love the board to support us because I did tell them we are looking at this and we're bringing it to the board. We actually invited them tonight if they wanted to speak for 3 minutes. We don't think their request is that unreasonable. We just can't support it based on the letter right now of that code. We feel the code protects the RPP format and it doesn't have any like wiggle room there at this point. So we're saying that we want our board to consider it. So if you guys support that, we hold off on this with them and they just have to wait until we redo the RPP possibly. If they want to come speak why they think it's important to be able to do that, I'm totally would love to hear their thoughts on why it's okay, like Luke did. I agree. I think there's some room for that. I do. So yeah, so support.
It sounds like we would support what you just said and that they could go ahead and continue to rent out their driveway at this point in time until it's looked at, and the understanding would be for them to understand if there's not room, it might not turn out in their favor, but if there's room, it could. But again, the board has to really look at it.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that. I think it's to leave them hanging until October or November isn't probably healthy for Kevin.
My only fear, I guess, right now, Kevin, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they're putting up a sign that says donations accepted. And I don't know if that's going to lead to a whole Ruxton Boulevard rental program going on and increasing the cars up Ruxton. So it does worry me if we allow it.
There's not many places though. Well, there's parks, you know, down by the stores, there's some places. I
Yes.
always see that place, donations accepted. I always wondered about that.
I've
Yeah.
seen it in 2 different locations on Ruxton.
Have
Oh,
you?
too?
I've seen it on one. Yeah. Well, you
Yeah,
look,
not-
you probably go up there more.
Sounds like it's spreading.
I think almost we would rather have the support that they don't do it now until we have a solution, because I'm a fear. See, we took off paid parking off Ruxton for a reason. And now if we allow them to do that, we're actually gonna encourage possibly more cars to go back up Ruxton.
Right.
And it
I
kinda
would
going against-
recommend that you get with Denise, I would think, and check with the city lawyer just to make sure that we're not making a decision about private property that we can't make.
Oh, that's a good point, Joy. I will do that. I'll reach out to Jeff Parker. That's
Okay.
a great idea.
Hey, Luke,
I would recommend quite the opposite. If we're going to take a look at this at a later date with the RPP subcommittee, I would really let it go status quo right now and not make any decisions until we look later. If it's gray area right now, then let's not make any hasty decisions right now. With that being said, right? Knowing that soon we're going to look at it and soon it'll become the reality. And as a matter of fact, just right up the road from them, right on Ruxton Avenue where Winter Street breaks off, just next to Iron Spring Chateau, there are residential parking spots right there that are almost always available. So to say that there are not enough parking spots on Ruxton for residents isn't true, particularly for this home that we're speaking of right there next to Pilot Knob. So my opinion is to leave it status quo and not make any decisions to impact them until we really get out of the gray zone.
Yeah, no, I get it, Luke. I think there was a misunderstanding. I'm not saying there's no parking on Ruxton. Our goal when we removed paid parking was to reduce traffic on Ruxton, which has dramatically dropped based on our traffic logic data. So we don't want to go back to increase vehicles because of more public parking availability. So that's
Sure.
really the goal. And I I listened to you, I heard you. So what I'm gonna do, I think Joy's had a good idea. I'm gonna talk to Denise. I'm gonna reach out to Jeff Parker. I'm gonna see legally if, what's the safest bet for the city at this point. And Luke, you may be right. Maybe we leave it and hope more don't develop. But we'll see, and we'll see what the lawyer thinks of the code and which one it favors. And I think that would be a great first step. But I noted everything you said and what Joy said. I think we have some good data to bring back and figure this out.
Cool. Good opinions all the way around.
Yeah. Thank
Okay.
you.
I think Carl had you had your hand up, did you? Carl?
I have something when we're done with the RPP discussion related to Kevin's
Okay.
report.
Let's continue. Does anybody have any further comments on this Roy's proposal?
Yes, Mr. Chair, can you hear me? I've got my.
Yes,
hand
I
up.
can, Corey. Go ahead.
Yeah, just in this discussion about that, about the private property, what occurred to me is the very best outcome might be is if, they could, if they're able to rent out their driveway as they want, but somehow it could be incorporated into the city's parking system, the way that we're trying to do with the Metro District. So basically anybody in town who wants to sell parking, somehow they can do it, and it's integrated with the city's parking information system, so that what we really don't want is people driving up and down to find out if there's a spot empty or not. And so
Well,
if
that's the
it
problem.
could somehow be incorporated into the wonderful system that staff's been looking at, that I think that would be a win. So just want to throw that out there, something to keep in mind as you're looking at it.
Can't wait to
Thank you.
legitimize it.
Okay, Carl.
Sounds like a legal liability to me, but
Yeah.
It does.
And
So-
I think Roy made a very good point. One of the things we've tried to do is reduce the amount of traffic on Ruxton. And without sounding anti-private property, which I'm not, it strikes me that this could spread all along Ruxton with the available parking, and we're back where we were, which I think was somewhat Roy's point. So I have I live on Ruxton, so but I think it's important that we stay with the goals that we started out with. And so I look forward to hearing what Roy finds out from the attorney.
Yeah, I'll bring something back next month. And to your Corey, to your point on, them using it, as part of the parking system, there is a app out there called Spot Angels, and it's just for that in cities where people want to rent out their parking spot. But they do it individually without us. We would maybe just put the app online for them to download if they want, but it's totally done by them and they manage it. So that is an option if we ever decide we want to do that, to increase some more parking space in town. So just interesting. Yeah. All right. Sorry.
No problem. Interesting discussion. Yes, Carl.
So I wanted to go back to Kevin's report and ask about the increase in the T2 mobile pay transactions. It seems, can we correlate that back to the progressive parking changes?
I think we're living in the post-COVID area with contactless payment. I want to say that people have become very comfortable with that portion of it, just to see those amount of transactions, knowing that you're taking care of what you need to take care of with your own phone. You're not touching that community area. That's my take on it. Just even when the restaurants reopened and we still weren't handing out the menus, now that the menus are back, I still, when I go out to eat, I'm scanning that QR code right there just so I can get that menu where I'm comfortable. So I think my opinion totally is we're comfortable with the contactless payments.
Okay, fair enough.
Good. Okay. Anything else you have to offer to us today, Kevin?
Nothing I can readily think of. I'm always available for questions if anybody has any.
I got a quick one for
Questions?
Given.
Oh, yes, Luke.
What's the ratio of people who pay on the app versus the kiosk on the street? And do you see that higher down the road there on the 400 block? next to the chamber because the kiosks are more spread out? I'm just kind of curious if people are using the app more or the kiosk more.
They're definitely using the kiosks more. I can do some quick math and let you know the ratio. It's definitely more than it was with Park Mobile, but the kiosks by far are,
Really?
yeah, that's where all of our transactions are. So on the kiosks in May, there were a total of, and this is all Metro included, everything, 44,557 transactions versus that 3,600 in mobile pay.
Wow, big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, let's move on to Public Works report.
Sorry, can I
Yeah,
ask?
go ahead, Corey. I'm
A
sorry.
little update in the staff report, and then this is something I would like to see each month in the staff report, if it's possible, is just a little bit of an update or a status about the mobility share, like especially the Pike Ride permits. There was a lot of confusion this month about whether Pike Ride was allowed to continue or expand, and I'd just like to hear a staff update about the micromobility share. Or is that are you ready to give an update on that, Kevin?
I can give you a quick one. They resubmitted. I met with Jolie first part of last week. We did a lunch meeting, went over a couple things. She submitted her business license. The city has approved a business license for 1 year, so they're good to go. I did talk to Jolie yesterday. She asked for a copy of that, and our finance department is having some tech issues with printing out of that program. So I did relay that back to Jolie and Roy. Soon as they're able to get that corrected, I will get her a hard copy of the business license. Her and I are working jointly to try to get the hub that was pulled out of the Econo Lodge put back in down by Lulu's downstairs. Our new planning director is fantastic, and she's helping us work through some hurdles on the setback requirements.
Great.
We did discuss the Soda Springs area. We met out there. She brought, and I remember his name, but I forget his title, Doug. He does a lot of the site inspections for the installs of the hubs and the racks. He agrees it's a good place. And I did show her the old Metro stop up on Upper Ruxton that we would like to try to get Pike Ride up that way as well. So we're full steam ahead. I'm very, very interested and diving headfirst right into the micromobility side of this. I'm finding it very enjoyable.
That's
Thank you very
great.
much for that update and all your hard work on that, Kevin. That's wonderful news. So thank you.
Yeah, great. Okay, Public Works report. Jeff is not here. Roy, can you offer us something?
Yeah, and I'll just do it along with, I guess, my deputy report.
Sure.
But if you didn't notice, we have new crosswalks at the elementary school, and they're nice, bright colored rainbows. And, it is part of the TMMP to find traffic calming type programs. And it's been proven in some studies that colored crosswalks are more eye-catching, slow people down, make it safer. So the school requested that we, redo their sidewalks, and we decided to do it as a pilot. We got some paint that we found that is supposed to be 7 to 10 year paint, which is excellent since the oil-based paint now is illegal. The other paint is wearing off in a summer if you're lucky. So this is a lot better paint product, costs more, but if it lasts 5+ years, it's worth it. So check that out if you get a chance. Just be careful of the sinkhole that developed on Pawnee near the school. It's a pretty big one, and it's being repaired or is repaired at this time. So just watch that. Striping on Lovers Lane and Park Avenue will happen soon. We're continuing our basic plan right now to continue the bike route off of El Paso onto Lovers Lane. So we're just going to put a few signs in Sharrows. It's a underutilized street for vehicles. A few from Wichita come out of there. But it really is underutilized. So it's a great path for some of the bicyclists that we see every day. So we're going to continue working on that to get that striped. And then Park Avenue just has no stripes left. So we need to get that stripe for parking and everything. For your knowledge, Canon is going to be all done in the fall. We talked to the businesses, and so to avoid causing problems with visitors and customers, we're going to totally repave Cannon and then restripe Cannon as well, but that'll be in the fall. The rear diagonal parking is working great. We do have sometimes people who pull in head first, but I'm seeing more and more doing it correctly. And just on El Paso, where it's normal diagonal parking, people back into those. So people break rules. That 10% will always break the rules, but it's working well. And today was almost 100% occupied. So it's given us some more parking space for folks, which is good, to get them off the street and start walking and not driving around circles. Route 33 Metro bus is going to change to turn left on Old Man's Trail versus turning left on El Paso and then back out on Old Man's Trail. So we're going to change that direction, and that'll start, I believe, Sunday. And Kevin met with the chamber today about the map. And so they're going to redo the visitor map for routes and shuttle access and everything. So they're doing it. And Kevin and I found a good brochure at Estes Park, and we presented it to them. They really like it. So they're going to try to copy some of the things that Estes Park's in there about parking and information from the chamber. So that, and then let's see, Kevin and his crew, not only do they do parking and mobility, they're also out there placing some signs. They clean up the lots. Their customer service out there. I mean, I think they're doing a great job under Kevin's leadership. I'm very impressed. Just recently, if you haven't noticed, they put up some new signs that have dollar signs on them, and it's highlighted green for the lowest, and then there's $2 signs for the next price, $3 signs for the highest price. And we put that under the parking signs for directions, so that people can understand the lowest price, like, is going to Hiawatha, and then maybe the next price, would be the next one up that costs more. So they understand going into town, they're going to be paying more money. So those, Kevin, I think almost all are put up today, right? You're done with those?
Yep, I think there's just a couple down in the maps area that we need to catch eastbound, but with that construction right now, it's a bit of a challenge to find a safe place to park.
Okay, and then I just have one more thing, and I'll answer any questions. Progressive parking progress, looking at some of the data from Parking Logics and Smarking, we are seeing more turnover, and that's good. And we'll have data, hopefully maybe next month, Kevin, or the month after, we'll have some good data to share with the group. But I think it is working. It definitely has increased the revenues, but is also getting people to move on if they're not gonna, do things here. And we really had very few complaints. I'm shocked, because 2 years ago when we made that first bump up, we had a lot more complaints. This one, people, I don't know, people seem fairly happy out there, and they're not complaining too much to either Kevin or myself. So I think they're looking at it as probably fair. We gave the businesses their passes for local customers, so they get that deal. And then we took care of the residents with their 50. And it's been pretty quiet. And in a parking business, when it's quiet, normally it's pretty good, because they will let us know what they think.
Roy, can I ask a question?
Oh, hold
Yeah, I
on.
think Carl was next, I think.
Oh,
right?
Carl.
Carl is next. Yeah, we'll come back.
Sorry.
Carl.
Sorry if I may, I have two things. So one, just a piece of feedback for what it's worth to Roy on the shuttles.
Yes.
Joan and I were researching, trying to figure out the 36 shuttle, and it was actually surprisingly hard to find information on it. And
Oh,
the thing that really kind of maybe threw me was that Mountain Metro Transit has no information on the shuttle. I think I found it on the city website. It was kind of this weird, one side had information, the other side didn't. And, I looked on Mountain Metro and didn't find anything, and the stops weren't kind of clearly marked. And so we actually had to go ride it to figure out where it stopped, and, talk to the bus driver. Right. And when we started riding it, which is totally cool, and I appreciate the shuttles. So thank you for that. But I just wanted to mention that, because, I thought it was hard, right? And we should make it easy. So
Carl, can I ask a question on that real quick?
Yes, please.
So based on your experience, are you saying that it should be on the Mountain Metro site? Is that like the first place you went, or what do you suggest to help somebody find it easier? It's on our website, but what else would help, you think?
If Mountain Metro Transit, I mean, I guess they're the ones providing the service, so I maybe naively assumed that they would have information on the shuttle, but they did not. And then, for the city, it's, when you Google, I think there was multiple hits and it was a little bit unclear what was current information and what might have been something just left out there from last year or prior years kind of thing. But
Okay.
when we found it, it was accurate. So.
All right, let me work on something. I'll talk to Alex and the chamber's gonna be making that map, but I'll talk to him on anything that could be, make it easier.
And where
get
the
there.
stops are,
Yes.
like for us, we were trying to pick it up by Crystal Park Road, right? And also get off. And it wasn't, like I said, we had to ride it to figure out, oh, we can get off at the Magnuson Grand or wherever the hotel is right there at the base of Crystal Park Road. And it's totally awesome, right? You don't have to walk
Yes.
that far. So it just, but there's not like a map showing where all the bus stops are.
Okay, that's what the chamber is gonna work on too. So
Okay.
that's gonna be important. Okay, great information, Carl. Thank you.
Yeah,
And-
if I can just piggyback on that real quick, the chamber map will have the 33, 36, and what 3 information they have when it comes into the arch. So those
Right.
3 different shuttles will be in that.
Awesome.
Good.
Yeah, it'd be good to have it all consolidated. And just one more thing, Roy, on the progressive parking, the report, and I'm not saying that you have to do this, but it'd be super cool if we could somehow tie that to sales revenue and just, with the turnover, if, trying to see if there was an impact on sales revenue just to help reinforce the positive aspects of the turnover. And that might be, I know that's probably a huge ask, but that would be the ideal. So just wanted to throw that out there in case that's in the realm of possibility.
Yeah, I think eventually I'd like to give that data and kind of how we're sitting and how things are working. I agree. And I do think it has a big impact right now, but it'd be nice to see the data, how that's working out. So I'll talk to Kevin, but we should be able to pull some of that up.
Okay, Joy.
And this is sort of a follow-up of Carl. Do we have data about how many people are going into the 26, is it $26 if they do 6 hours? Do we have any data? Are people hitting that mark or not? I don't know if we have data on it.
Kevin, I think we can probably determine that with our data that we're getting through Smarking and the T2.
And I don't need it now. I just was curious because if it's quiet and everyone's doing okay, I'm assuming that not many people are going into it.
True. I mean, again, I think visitors have disposable income. They probably can care less until they go home. But everybody else, I mean, it's just, I don't know, Kevin, have you heard anything? But we can look at that, see how easy it is to pull some of that on total per vehicle. I don't know. It's hard to say. We do get crossover. I don't know if there's another word for it, Kevin, but where someone may put in for 3 hours, but they leave in 2 hours and someone takes their spot. And that kind of messes up that number too.
Oh, okay.
Here I go again. I'm just going to continue to build Roy up tonight. Roy found this Smarking and I'm geeking out even in the meetings. Roy can tell you that. So while you guys were talking, I pulled it up last Saturday, just out of curiosity to answer Joy's question. 18.5% of our transactions last Saturday were at the $26 mark.
Wow.
That's great. Good job, Kevin.
Good. Okay, let's move on. Unfortunately, we don't have a city council liaison report. Natalie sends her regards and she's out of town. So she's excused from the meeting, so to speak. And unless, Roy, you have anything from city council or Kevin that you wish to offer to us?
I would just say that one comment was made probably a few weeks ago asking Kevin, are we targeting downtown employees because we're making them have permits and park in certain areas? And Kevin answered it very well. At the end of the day, we're going to target anyone who breaks the rules. It's not just specifically downtown people. And we're going to do it in the friendly, professional way. We're going to try to be understanding, educate. But Kevin did a great job answering that. But that would be the only thing right now at council. they're relatively quiet and seem satisfied with how things are running right now as well with the parking.
Great, great, good news. Okay, let's move on to item 8, Higginbotham Flats Agreement. Who wants to carry the ball on this on staff?
Well, I think Corey probably needs
Kevin?
to discuss the, bringing this up, I suppose, what we're trying to look at here.
Yeah,
Because this is not really a staff thing, so.
This was a request that came out, I think it was April's meeting, and we were talking about Higginbotham and in an attempt to better understand, that's some city property it's partly owned by the city and partly owned by Save the Flats. There was a desire to better understand what that agreement is and how that space can be used. I see that there is in the packet, there is an MOU that describes an agreement between Save the Flats and a community garden, but it's not the agreement that I was really interested in, which is what is the agreement between Save the Flats and the city? It's owned 50-50. What if one party decides to sell? What are the limitations on uses? How can it be transferred? What are the guidelines on what can be done at Higginbotham Flats? And unfortunately, the document that was included in the packet doesn't include that.
Corey, you're correct. This looks like it's not the right one, Kevin. This was provided by the clerk's office, I think.
And I'll just say, I think it's probably an easy mistake to make. And in fact, I've asked for this document before under the Colorado Open Records Act, and I got the same result. I got this agreement, which is between the city and Save the Flats and the community garden, but it doesn't describe the agreement between the city and Save the Flats itself.
All right, so Corey, what I'll do on this, since this is obviously not the one we wanted to look over, is so I will take this 100% on myself to find that document. And you did a core request, so I'll make sure that that clerk's office gets you the right document. And then we can go from there. If we want to add it onto next month, we could. But let me put that on as a high priority because I know you've asked for it. This is not the right document. So let me see if I can find it. And if I can't, that's a different story, but I'll let you know and use all avenues to find it.
Well, thank you. And
very
if
much,
you can,
Roy.
if you can find it, please do share it with the group because we talked about it at the meeting and that was the request, and we even modified the minutes and everything. So I think it would be good if that document can be found, that'd be shared with the group.
Fair enough. It was supposed to be on here, so I'll just email it out. But reminder, we don't want to have email discussion on it. So it's for your use. And if we want to bring it back to this group another month and discuss, then we can do that.
Sounds like a plan. Okay, board correspondence. And this is an opportunity for any member of the board to offer their comments on just about anything related to the topic of mobility and parking. So. Yes, Carl.
Bill, I actually have 3 things, 1 moderate and then two quick, I think, if you don't mind.
Oh, no, go ahead.
So the
That's
first,
the purpose of this.
I just wanted to mention and not to discuss, but to mention that I actually attended the first traffic calming board meeting yesterday over at Public Works. There was a traffic calming request from a citizen on Crystal Hills Boulevard. And so we met. And so I just wanted to make the board aware of that. And I will ask, or I have one question. that was my first meeting and I wasn't quite sure what the purview was of the board, but it seems like it was a bit constrained to stop signs and signage kind of thing. And so and maybe budget constrained. And it just felt like some of the discussion should maybe be a bit broader from a mobility perspective. And I don't know if like with the new parking enterprise, if how, where the funding for that would come from. But I just, like I said, trying to set my expectations at attending the first meeting and, trying to expand from, hey, let's just put up a stop sign to, hey, can we do a road diet by painting narrower lanes or whatever. And rightfully so, right? Everything costs money. And I totally get that, but it didn't seem like there was a really broader strategic view, and maybe that for that board, that's inappropriate. Maybe that's more appropriate for this board, but I just wanted to mention that as a comment, because, the new traffic safety board kind of, came up fairly quickly, and it didn't come in front of this board. So it was new to me.
So if you want, I can comment a little bit on that, Carl, to explain the process of that board. So one of the things looking at other cities is that they just start kind of at the lowest hanging fruit. Yeah, maybe this is the cheapest, but what can we do to make a safer street for now? And maybe it stays that way. Maybe that's all they need is one stop sign somewhere. We don't know that. So we want to start at the lowest level and then we build from there. So if it doesn't work for whatever you guys are going to implement, if it doesn't work, then that has to be reported back to the group. And then maybe there's the next step. And then eventually, but in my opinion, the street diets is fairly up there or low on hanging fruit because it does work. We found that on Becker's and El Paso, some real success with that. So I do think that is in the realm possibly of the signs and things that we can probably consider narrowing some roads to make people slow down to stay in the lines. I think that actually is something that really does work. But then there's a lot of other things you can do above that. Even road design at the end of the day.
Right.
Some of the books you gave me, Carl, I'm still working through the bike one now, but it's really interesting on ways to slow traffic. But the idea is to start. If we did everyone at the higher level, I mean, we definitely won't have money soon because everyone wants the new street.
Yeah.
So we have to start low and start building from there and find the least impact, even to the area, on trying to make this safe.
Right. And we walked away with a phased approach, right? We'll start with the radar sign, and then we'll move to the three-way stop. And then, Jeff is going to look into the lane striping, and then, it kind of stopped there, but, it was also pushing for, even like concrete bump outs, for where like the school bus stops, just to further emphasize the lane narrowing, because paint is great and it does help, but it doesn't protect you, right?
Correct. Yeah, that's right. And this thing will evolve a little bit over time too. I think as the group gets stronger at understanding some things, and as we test something on one street, you have the same street and same problem, and you might say, you know what, this is a similar problem. So you guys will get better at moving a little quicker along the path as well. So great job though. I heard it went well, and you guys are trying solutions. We never had that before, so awesome.
Yeah. And I encourage the board, and like they adopted it, we should change one thing, collect data, change another thing, collect data, right? So we have, feedback on what actually worked, and it's not just, oh, we're going to do this and we're doing it for, no reason.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
who's next?
sorry.
Carl
Bill-
had two more.
Oh, Carl, you've got some more. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Sorry.
I promise, I hope she'll be quicker. So just the other thing I wanted to mention, I recently discovered that prior administration paid for a accessibility study with a local ADA consultant, Meet the Challenge. And there's a report that's available. I think I just got a copy. I haven't had time to read it, but I think, I don't know, Roy, if it's appropriate to share that with the whole board. And I don't know if there's anything to discuss, but I just thought, hey, someone's done an ADA study for the city of Manitou Springs, local professionals, it would be worth reading and seeing, if there's things that we can glean from that might be useful. So I just wanted to mention that. Roy, any comments?
Yeah, Carl. So yeah, we do have that. Public Work has that, and it's kind of we've been using some of that as a guide, but it's totally appropriate to share with the group. So feel free to do so. And if we ever want to talk about some things, I'm open to that as well.
Well, shouldn't that come from staff and not from me?
Well, sure, but it doesn't matter to share it.
Okay, all right.
It's no big deal to share it. If we bring it to staff, if we want to discuss it, then yes. But if you have it to share it, it's a study that's out there for the public. Normally they put that on the website anyway, so I'm not sure if it's not on there. I probably need to get the link put on there. So
Right.
everyone should have access to that studies that we did. So,
Okay,
Awesome.
Great.
Last thing, Bill. So just wanted to mention.
you got it. Go ahead.
Friday is the dual mayor's ride, and we have a few open slots on the Manitou Springs side. So anybody that wants to, and I know like Luke's going to be there, but anybody else that wants to attend, we have a couple slots open. Let me know. We're getting Pike Ride e-bikes. If you want to ride a Pike Ride e-bike, Kevin, are you coming?
I have been invited, but my schedule has always prevented me. I would like to be there this year. Put my name down.
All right, I'll
Hey.
I'll let Joan know. She's
Hey,
gonna
Kevin?
expect you.
I'm authorizing you to shift your schedule and go do this bike ride. You're the
Okay.
mobility guy, man. You need to go out there. It's fun. I did it last year. It's a blast.
I've always been invited, but I've always had such a packed schedule. This year, I want to make this a priority to go.
So just quick, so one thing Joan just whispered in my ear, she said, bring a helmet if you have one. But we're meeting Mayor John Graham and Mayor Southers are going to meet at Adams Crossing. So it's going to be the meeting of the mayors. And so there's going to be other staff members and police and such from Colorado Springs and Manitou Springs and kind of the bicycle diplomacy, right, between Colorado Springs and Manitou Springs. So
Too cool.
Great. Okay, who else has something? Luke,
It's Bike to Work Week, so that's great. Today is Bike to Work Day for the state of Colorado. Just want to give a big shout to Pac-Man and all the other organizations around supporting that micromobility endeavor. There's a couple really cool apps and programs and groups, and I just think that it's really great all the way around. Pac-Man did a very wonderful job. They have a photo contest going on right now. I've seen their flyers up and around town. Their social media is, they're involved trying to get clean commute around Manitou, and I think it's really great. So for all of you and everybody else who is participating in Bike to Work Week and Bike to Work Day today on the 22nd, it's just something pretty special, near and dear to me. And as folks on this board who care about mobility and safe mobility at that for bicyclists, it's pretty incredible. So thank you everybody who's involved with that.
very good. Thank you. I've got something. There was an article in the paper a couple of days ago on what Colorado Springs is doing about scooters. And I think scooters are a fact of life in Colorado Springs. There was a pilot program from what I understand. I haven't read the whole article yet, but it's something that we need to think about because if they're in Colorado Springs, they're going to want to come to Manitou Springs. So we need to have a position on that and go from there. I'll just leave it at that. Roy, do you have any further information on that?
Well, I will say there's an interesting, I can't remember what city it is in Colorado. They are gonna make a new ordinance for any of these scooter companies. They have to have the ability on the app to control speed if they enter a sidewalk and even be shut off in certain areas of town, or they won't allow them in the city. Which I thought, wow, that actually is probably the best approach at the end of the day. So they're not scooting up and down sidewalks like they're knocking. It's in Denver. They're knocking people over accidentally, probably. But I think that's a approach to get them to start using this technology to make them safer. And we do need to start thinking about it because there's more and more on the street now, even if we're not renting them out in the area,
Right.
People are buying them. So it's something we got to start talking about.
Well, could this be a future agenda item?
I totally think so. I think
Okay.
we should be ahead of the game, right, Kevin?
Yeah, that was an area that when we did the micromobility code update with all the changes, the removal of the geofence and everything that we recently did, I do believe that one counselor, and I cannot recall who it was, asked about these scooters. There seemed to be some concern, but this is new information that I'm hearing about. You're able to control them. So yeah, Roy, I agree. This is
Not
something
yet, Kevin, not yet. They're saying that they're not going to allow them anymore until they have the technology.
Right.
And that will be a
Okay.
requirement. So
Here's
that's
in
going
the
to help
Denver
all of us.
Post. It was in the Denver Post.
Oh, thank you, Joy. Thank you.
and
I'll look for that. But yeah, no, Roy, I agree. Scooters right now are prohibited in the current ordinance, but yeah, we do need to get ahead of this.
Okay.
so Roy,
Go ahead.
just one quick comment. I mean, my understanding is that the scooters in Colorado Springs are geofenced for Colorado Springs, and hence that's why, you don't see them littered in Manitou Springs. They kind of end, around the URA area, right? Because
That's one way to do it.
there's no assist, right? At that point, it becomes a big anchor. And so that's why it hasn't expanded into Manitou Springs yet.
You're right, Carl. They do have it geo-fenced. They do have some technology and, but I'm seeing more and more personal ones in Manitou. And that's going to continue to grow.
Personal.
So we're still going to have a problem of them scooting up and down the street. And I guess we just better start being proactive on the future of scooters and other things that may pop up later. But
Can I comment on that?
Yes.
So, I mean, I can see us, for a mobility company coming in to your comment earlier, Roy, of, hey, the requirement is that you have to have speed governors or whatever, sidewalk considerations. But for personal use, that's going to be really hard to enforce. And, they'll, even if it's in place, people are going to figure out how to work around that. And to me, I view that kind of similar to like class 3 e-bikes on trails. They're illegal on all the tier 3 trails. Is that right, Corey? I forget the right terminology, but the premier trails in Colorado Springs, but there's people out there riding them all the time. And it's not the bike, it's the rider, right? I can ride a regular road bike and be a complete jerk. And it's, and same thing in class 3 e-bike, right? You have to ride and be courteous of others. And so it's more educational, I think, in my opinion. So.
yeah, if
Okay.
enforcement's an issue, and I agree with you, enforcement's going to be an issue regardless. If you can't enforce it, it's pointless in many ways to have anything. We don't have a scooter police, so it's tough. So good points.
Okay. That really completes the agenda, unless somebody wants to comment on future agenda items that they would like.
Mr.
Corey?
Chair, could I make some board correspondence?
Yes, you can. Go
Yeah, I
ahead.
just wanted to note, we had some discussion in the past about the progressive rates, and I wanted to reiterate my appreciation to staff for trying something new with the progressive rates and sticking with it through all the hiccups that we'd had. And I did hear some feedback from the chamber that some businesses are concerned about it. I noticed there's no one from the chamber here tonight, and we always do invite the chamber to be part of our discussions. And I want to just make sure that we're clear and on record that we do value the input from businesses very, very seriously. And so we always want to keep that door open. And if there are any businesses, listening to the recording after or anything like that, we do want to hear concerns and we want to engage businesses in the process of what we're doing here. So I'm going to make it my personal point to try to be engaged more with some of the businesses in town. And I just hope that as a board, we can continue to respect what businesses bring to Manitou.
Big stakeholders. You're right. Thank you, Corey.
Good. That's a very good point, Corey. And I think we absolutely have to maintain good relations with the business community. And I would hope that we can get Leslie to come to some of our meetings, even though they're visual. And anyway, that said, anybody have anything else that they want to offer?
A couple weeks ago, we talked about the potential of meeting in person again. I
Yes.
forgot where that left off. Where is that? I'd like to see.
That
you guys.
left off with me asking our clerk, and our clerk is still getting trained on the new system. So once our city clerk is fully trained and able to train staff, I'll be able to get you guys in. So I'll provide you updates as they come in.
Cool.
Well, can we do a hybrid? I think there was some request, I think Corey made the request for a hybrid type system that is both virtual and in person.
That's what's being updated, and that's what our clerk is being trained on. So
Okay.
once she's comfortable with it, she's going to train staff that have boards. So as soon as that's done, she's going to set that up, and I'm on that list because I have a board. So we'll be able to do it as soon as our clerk is caught up.
Cool.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Anything else? Hearing none, entertaining a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Move that we
Motion to
adjourn. Bill.
adjourn.
Bye.
Carl adjourned, and
night.
Carl moved and Luke seconded. So, all in favor?
Bye.
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned.
All right.
Thank
have a
you.
good night, everyone.
Thanks, Kevin and Roy.
everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.